Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Steven Inks. Today, thought we'd do something a little bit different on the channel and talk about fountain pens. Do you ever get that pen that is so cheap that you literally cannot buy one of them at a time? Like, for example, this pen that I'm about to talk about today, you can get 3 of them for $10, and you literally, I cannot find a listing on Amazon for one at a time. So that is $3.333333 per pen. We're very committed to math on this channel, despite all of the other things that I've said in the past. That is the Jinhao 65, which is this pen right here. It doesn't like, my camera doesn't like it. It won't focus. That's okay. We're gonna look at this thing up close, see what is good, see what's not so good, and figure out, do I recommend this super cheap pen? Let's check it out. This is the pen in question. Now, I got a lot of thoughts and feelings, and I think all of the things that I'm about to say have to kind of be put through the lens of the fact that this is a very inexpensive pen. So it's kind of allowed to take some shortcuts as far as its design, because what do you expect for what you pay? That being said, it's kind of a mixed bag. There's a lot of things that I really like here, and a few things that I kind of am not so sure about. So I do like this clip. There's a nice bend to it. Got a little ball kind of attachment on the end. It looks like it'll hold pretty well. I do think, and I did wash my hands before handling this pen, I think that this finish might be a divisive point for some people, because it's definitely going to attract fingerprints. Let me see if I can get a little focus here. The top of this thing, yeah, you can see it's already sort of smudged with fingerprint oil. So that's what it is. There's a weird little thing on the back here. Here's another, if I can actually show you this. There we go. There's like these little slits that go through, and I'm assuming that's for posting the pen cap. And we're gonna get into some of the stuff that I like about this pen. First of all, it's super thin. And I do kind of like wide pens. Just for example, here's a pen that I really do like, which is my Mahjong A1. And that's kind of a lot wider. But if you're looking for something super thin, this is pretty cool. I'm guessing, and I don't know this for sure, someone who has this pen could let me know in the comments, that this might be modeled after a Lamy CP1, which is a pen that has this sort of profile, but I don't know what the size comparison is like. We got my hands here, and they're, you know, it's like that big. I don't know if that helps at all. It probably doesn't. But here's a reference that some of us might have. This is a Bic ballpoint pen. My wife uses these. It's a blended marriage. So if you're looking at that, you see it's actually shorter, and it's very close to the same thickness. So you're looking at a fountain pen that looks and feels about the shape of a ballpoint pen, like a disposable one. So if you're looking for that, there it is. When we take the cap off, we get this very minimalist design. This is the Jinhao nib. That's very similar to like a Lamy nib, where it's got that sort of folded over boxy look. It does have, let's see if I can get a zoom in. It does have the Jinhao stamping, that little like horse-drawn carriage thing. And then this plastic feed. It doesn't feel like very expensive plastic, but it's not expensive plastic, I'm sure, knowing what it is. It seems to be made of the same material as this here. Cool story back here. This is definitely for posting. That little black, that little, what do they call it? The kind of flap right here. It doesn't seem to move at all when I squeeze it. So maybe it's just there to just press into the metal there, and you get this. I do love when a pen does this. The Muji pen does this, and if you push it hard enough, the Hongdian Black Forest does it too. But this pen is lighter than both of those pens, including the Muji. you get this seamless kind of integration. And I do like that because then that gives me the ability to hold my pen at different lengths depending on what will be the best move for the lines that I'm trying to make. So that's cool. Let's see, can I pull this nib right off the feed? Oh, ow. Yes, and I hurt myself. So it does do that, and it looks very much like a Lamy feed, this right here. Cool. Pops back on there. Taking the section out, we have here, this is one of the cheaper Jinhao style converters. They have slightly nicer ones. It's weird that there's a difference between the two, but this is like the cheapest one that they make. But it works, or at least I assume it works. We'll find out if it works in a little bit. It's interesting, usually when you have a converter pen, you have kind of a little shield that goes up a little bit right here, if you know what I mean. There's like an area before you make contact with the edge of the converter, but this appears to be built, and I'm assuming this is so that you can keep it as narrow as possible. So it's just like a tube sticking out of the end here, and converter goes right on top. I don't anticipate that will create any problems. It feels like a good solid seal, like it's not going to leak at all. So I guess the only thing that we have to look at is how it fills up, and we're going to do that right now. Not quite sure what I wanted to do for the ink for this pen. It's a pretty bland color set, gray and well, silver and black. So I just closed my eyes and I grabbed a bottle of ink, and then it wasn't this one, and I changed my mind. So it's going to be Diatramantis or Diatramont. I don't know how to pronounce it. Document Ink Brown. This is a waterproof ink. I had someone recently make a comment on one of my videos about this ink, saying that it clogged their pen, and full disclosure, that has never happened to me. I've used pretty much the full line of Document inks, and I have a video on that, except I never used the white one because everyone said that the white ink just blobbed and destroyed their pens, so I never bothered to use that one. But I just wanted to point out at the bottom of this bottle, I don't know if you can see it, there is a little bit of a sediment building up down at the bottom there. It's not very visible. So I shook it a little bit to kind of mix those sediments in. When it comes to an ink that has like some sort of quality, special quality to it, be that a sparkly quality or a waterproof quality, there's going to be an issue with sediments, things that are added to the ink to make it work a certain way. So it's always a compromise. I will continue to update you if I decide that this ink is creating problems in my pen. So far, I have nothing to say on that note, except that somebody else said it, and it's worthy to note that there's always a possibility. And if I ever do change my mind about a supply that I'm using, I'll be sure to let you know. Like and subscribe for more flip-flopping. I'm going to put the pen into the bottle, and we're going to pull some ink up. All right. That first draw was pretty good. Got a few air bubbles in the feed, so I usually like to do a second one. Then we'll just see how much we'll get. Okay, it's a pretty full fill. I'm not seeing it leaking in any way. So that being said, let's try to do some drawing. All right, so it's time for the rubber to meet the road. We've got my sketchbook out here. We're gonna do a little bit of sketching, and I actually think I want to bring the camera in a little bit so that we can see some of the line details here. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So I do love this post. It's a very nice posting move there, and I'm gonna have a look at these lines that we get. Okay, it feels like the general Jinhao line that we get with these pens. It is very lightweight. It feels, I don't know, not very significant in the hand, if that makes sense. But the feed is good and it can keep up. And actually, with slight pressure, I'm getting slightly different line weights. You can see this over here was with a harder pressure. It's a little bit lighter. And then this is super light pressure. That's impressive. So it's got some give to it. It must be very thin metal. Let's look at this reverse writing. Okay, and I get really thin lines with reverse writing. Let me put a forward and a reverse, and a forward with a little bit more pressure, and a really light pressure. So if you look at it, you are getting a pretty nice variety of line weights. That could be really helpful in drawing. So I'm impressed with that. And the reverse writing is smooth-ish, I guess, is the best way I can describe it. It's kind of smooth. It's not super smooth, but then the forward writing isn't perfectly smooth either. But I'm going to say that it writes nice. So, and the feed catches up. It doesn't. It's not skipping here, so the feed is fast enough to handle what the pen can do. I was doing that off camera. Sorry about that. If you have a really scribbly kind of style, you can still put out quick and fast lines without any trouble. So that's good news. Let's also have a look at some shapes. And I'm seeing, yeah, like I can do a lot with this. It is drying pretty fast too. I'm not having any trouble with the diatrimamentis, however you pronounce that. Probably the third one. With the document brown, it's working pretty well. It's possible also that I don't get a lot of clogs in my pens, which I really don't, because I tend to try and fill them and use them and not fill all my pens at once and leave the ink in them for several weeks. I highly recommend that if you can handle it. I know that some people really like having a billion pens at their disposal at all times, so that's not going to be possible for you. But just for what it's worth, my experience doing that has made me feel like I never have to worry about clogging, which is great because, you know, nobody wants to clog their pens. And there are a lot of people who have a very kind of finicky experience with certain pens, certain ink combinations. I don't really worry about it. I don't have that problem. So you could build a lot of layers of, I feel my paper is buckling because it's putting a lot of ink down. That's not necessarily a bad thing because more ink equals more smoothness, and this is cheap paper, so can't expect it to be perfect, but you can continue to put layers on top of this. That's really cool. If I were doing something like this and I started to see it buckling like that, I would just kind of leave it alone and come back to it, but this is just for demonstration purposes. It's not my final drawing, so I think that that's fine. And again, if I'm using really light strokes, barely touching the paper, I can get this kind of level. Of light lines, which does tend to a little bit of skipping, and I think that's just because the pen is so lightweight itself that you're going to really have to help it out with a little bit of pressure here. But it doesn't feel like it's broken or like I can't control the strokes. As a matter of fact, it feels like I have so much control of the strokes that I can even put down a line. I can even put down enough weight that it doesn't actually put down a line, which is hard to do with a fountain pen. It's kind of one of those things that I like to test when I have somebody who who doesn't know anything about fountain pens and wonders why I like to use those type of pens, I have them take a regular ballpoint pen and tell them to make a mark, and then try to pass the pen along the paper without making a mark, which is easy to do with the ballpoint pen because there's a lot of pressure involved in that. And then I tell them to do the same thing with the fountain pen, and that's when they kind of get it. They can't do it. They can't make a line so light that no ink comes out of the pen. So that helps them understand what I mean by smoothness and flow. And those are some of the things that I like about fountain pens. But this is actually light enough that it has the ability to do the kind of ballpoint thing where I'm still getting lines here, but I could get very light to almost non-existent lines by really lightly doing it. So, I don't know. I'm a little conflicted on that because it is one of my favorite qualities of fountain pens, but the fact that you actually can do this gives this pen a little bit more versatility, I guess. But I gotta say, holding this and using it, there's nothing that I feel like I can't do with this pen. Even, look, I'm holding it all the way back here to make some really strongly shoulder-controlled movements here, which is one of the ways that you keep your lines kind of straighter and more in line with each other, get a little bit more control. I talk about this in my book, What Kind of Pen Is That? You can get that book in PDF format for free on my website, www.steveninks.com. Check it out. Link in the description. I'm going to keep saying that until more people go and check it out. I'm really proud of that book. And this is kind of where we're at with this pen. I got to say, impressive. And certainly not a pen that scratches every single fountain pen itch that I have. But reliability, it seems like that'll be something that's good. And portability. And then when you consider the price, it's a pen that you could drop it into a pencil case and take it out in a mobile setup. And it's so small, it could just fit where any ballpoint pen could fit. And I wouldn't be super sad about this if I were to lose it or have it break on me because it's not an expensive pen. And I don't know, I kind of feel like you do need to have some pens that you like but don't love in your collection. Let me know if you agree with that, disagree with that. Also, if you do agree with that, what is a pen you have that you don't love? Tell me in the comments. I would love to hear about pens that are friends but not family. And this would be that for me. I think I have a few other pens like this, which let's think what I can say without getting in trouble. I kind of feel like my Lamy Safari is one of those pens. I'd be okay if something bad happened to it, but I do like it a lot. It's comfortable for me to use. Maybe my Kaweco Sport as well. It's fine. I could easily buy another one. It's not too expensive if something happened to it, but also I wouldn't cry over it. I had some pens that have broken on me that got me real upset before. Anyway, art advice. I've got some art advice. I gave some out recently to someone on my channel that was asking about how to be a good artist. And the art advice that everyone always says that's kind of false is just draw more. So I'm going to say don't draw more. Pay attention more. When you're drawing, make sure that you pay attention to what you are doing. How does this compare to the last time you did it? How does it compare to the way that you've seen other artists do it? How is what you're putting here compared to what you're seeing in front of you? Sometimes we get started on something and we've got a reference image like off to the side. Sometimes I'll have one off when I'm drawing here and I don't use it. It'll be there and I'll just be in the zone making marks, enjoying myself. Nothing wrong with that. But to improve, I should be paying attention to what the image is telling me and if I am communicating correctly the message that the image is giving me, that I'm receiving. So on that note, let's receive a message from some artwork right now. So this drawing is based on a recent experience that my wife had when creating a birthday cake for my niece, who had her birthday just about a week ago. This is my best recreation of what the cake actually looked like. It was incredible. My wife is an artist, and every single time she makes something, she gets stressed out and says she'll never do it again. And this is a little bit of me making a joke, kind of at her expense, but also at my own expense, because I recognize that pattern. She's an artist just like me, even though she would never admit it. This is her artwork, and there's a lot of doubt and dissatisfaction, which I think are actually an integral part of the creative process, and why artists can be so annoying and refuse to take a compliment. So as much as this is about her, I hope I'm forgiven for poking a little bit of fun. This is also about me. Maybe it's about you too. As an artist, do you doubt yourself? Do you see evidence that you're doing a great job and still get annoyed and think that you're bad at what you're doing? Because maybe you're not. I don't know. Ask some people in your life and see what they think. Those are my thoughts for the day about this. And now it's time for final thoughts. You know what? I like this pen. I like it. I like it because for its price, it does everything it's supposed to do. It makes lines. It's got a nice reverse writing edge to it. The fact that it's a Jinhao pen means that you get your standard international cartridges, your standard international converters, so you can upgrade your experience a little bit. It's super thin. If you're looking for a thin pen, there's not a lot of options out there. They're usually pretty bulky and chunky. Personally, I do like a bulky, chunky pen, but it's nice to have another little something. And this is something you could throw into a bag. This is something you could put, just clip on the end of a journal or a sketchbook and have it just hang there. It's a pretty solid clip. It's pretty thin profile, so it won't get in the way of a lot of things. It's a nice little traveling sized pen. I think it's worth looking into. If you look at this and you think that's something I might like, you should check out the links in the description. Tell me what your thoughts are in the comments below. I would love to hear that. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Please check out my book, What Kind of Pen Is That?, on my website, steveninks.com. And I will see you in the next video. Gets into focus, and it's just not gonna. My focus does not like. Is it not straight? What's going on? The makeup influencer thing? Did I fix it? Is it gonna focus now? Look at this weird avant-garde pen display thing that I'm doing. This is upsetting.